parish, and I'm honored to serve as the chairman of that organization. I'd like to open up with Hank Hennigan, who will lead us in the opening prayer.
Let's pray. Father, we thank you for this day. This is the day you have made, and we're glad and rejoicing in it. Father, we just ask you to bless this time of fellowship, and as we hear Brother Greene just bring the word today, and let it just be a blessing to us. Father, bless the food and the hands that prepare it, Lord. And that's all I always like to say in prayer. Give us your wisdom, knowledge, purpose, protection, purity, peace, prosperity, blessing, because the fear of the Lord's on our heart always. We love you, we love each other. In Jesus' name I pray, and everyone said,
Amen. Thank you, Hank. Please remain standing. Judge Carson Markinsell, our new city judge, if you would please come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And congratulations.
Everybody's ready? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now what I'd like to do, we sometimes do when we have time, and I think we do today, I'd like to go around the room and get everyone to introduce yourself and maybe just a sentence or so about yourself if you have an affiliation or an occupation. One, if you start, Gene, stand up if you would, introduce yourself.
Gene Guppy, retired insurance agent.
Daryl Tate, I'm a semi-retired Methodist preacher and also a full-time insurance agent.
Hank Hennigan, associate pastor of Bethany Church. I've been knowing Willie Jenkins for many years since God made dirt.
Coleman Brown, chairman of the East Baton Rouge Parish Chamber of Commerce Infrastructure Committee.
Diane Jenkins, I'm Woody's better half.
And Susan Rayburn, I'm an attorney for Leslie. I'm a Christian and I'm a pro-life supporter, and what happened to the clinics this morning was awful.
Why don't you explain what happened? Explain what happened this
It was
morning.
vandalized by James
What was
Revenge,
vandalized?
the pro-life clinic that's next to the abortion mill. And thankfully there weren't any fire bombs or broken windows, but it was, paint all over it, and you can imagine.
Wow.
That was the morning.
Well, we'll be finding out more about that, I'm sure.
I'm Scott Wilfong. I'm on the Republican PEC, and also since I'm sitting next to a councilman, I serve on the alcohol board appointed by the Metro Councils.
Better chase her.
Yeah. I don't drink that much.
Aaron Boat, East Baton Rouge Parish Council, Metro Councilman, and local business owner here with Computer Revolutions in Baton Rouge, or in Central also. Thank you.
Yes.
Carl Benedict, I'm on the Ascension Parish PEC, and I'm on the state Assembly Committee. And I'm a financial advisor.
I'm retired. I'm Michael Chum. I'm a Powell graduate of Baton Rouge High School.
When did Baton Rouge Town win its last football?
That's what we did.
Slow walking it, you said?
No, beat the Struma.
I'm in the minority as a Wampus cat. So, Cecil Kavanaugh, I'm a CPA. I'm also on the Parish PEC. I'm on the State's Central Committee, and I'm chairman of the East Baton Rouge Parish Chamber of Commerce.
Hollis Day, host of Save Money Radio on Saturdays at 11 o'clock on WJBO.
And by the way, we're trying to see if we can get Hollis to become the new president of the Chamber of Commerce of East Baton Rouge Parish, replacing me. And we're hopeful for that's going to happen soon. I'll be very involved.
Well, my name is Dele Adebamiji. I'm a candidate for District Court Judge Division G, but I'm here to listen to what Judge Greene has to say.
I'm Gary Littlefield. I'm the regional president for Gulf Coast Bank and Trust here in Baton Rouge.
I'm Carson Markinsell. I'm at Baton Rouge City Court.
Go ahead.
My name is Billy Broussard. I'm a business owner from Acadiana.
I'm Robert Burns. I founded the video blog Sound Off Louisiana, And that was certainly not its original intent, but for the last 3.5 or 4 years, it's been almost exclusively devoted to Louisiana State Police and problems thereof.
My name is David Embry. I'm a retired engineer. Live here in the Baton Rouge area, city of St. George. And since I'm retired, I've enjoyed getting out in the community and attending functions like this.
Hey, I'm Megan. I'm with Congressman Graves' office. I'm our community liaison there and the Graves coordinator.
Diane Casher with the Attorney General's office. I'm one of his representatives for 14 parishes.
I'm Joel Neely. I own and operate the Tiger Rock Martial Arts Academy here in Baton Rouge for over 40 years, and I'm a proud Republican.
Hi, I'm Julie Sandifer, and I'm the State Director for Convention of States, Louisiana. Glad to be here.
Hi, I'm Susan Ohms. I live in Tangipahoa Parish, and I'm a district captain for Convention of States also. And I would like to invite everyone here to a meeting tomorrow night at the Goodwood Library. Our speaker will be Tiffany Hatton, and she will be speaking about parents and school choice.
And Julie, stand back up a second. Why don't you give us a couple of sentences about Convention of the States? I had the pleasure of speaking with you last week.
Yes, and we appreciated that so much. I've heard lots of good things about it. Convention of States is an organization throughout the United States which is using Article 5 of the Constitution, the second part of it, where we, the people, have the opportunity to call a convention of the states to propose amendments. And we are doing that. We have 19 states already out of the 34 that are needed to call this convention. And we will be dealing with such things as term limits, fiscal responsibilities, and returning the power of the people back to the people, and curbing the growth of the federal government, if you will. So we'd love to have everybody take a look at our website, which is conventionofstates.com, and come and talk to me afterwards if you want more information. Thank you.
Susie, you're going ahead.
I'm Susie LaBrie, known as Louisiana Sunshine, and I'm the citizen advocate, the most powerful nobody on the farm.
Wait, say that again.
I'm Susie LaBrie. My pen is Louisiana Sunshine, and I'm the most powerful nobody on the farm.
Most powerful nobody on the planet, Susie LaBrie. She is
farm. That's where the power is.
She's at the legislature representing all of the good interests there and doing a fabulous job.
Thank you.
I'm Hunter Greene. I'm a judge, family court of East Baton Rouge Parish, and also a candidate for the First Circuit Court of Appeal.
I'm Emily Greene. I'm Hunter's wife of 31 years, and I'm a business owner, and we provide therapy services for special needs kids throughout Louisiana.
Last but not least, maybe, Beverly Brenner. I'm retired social services, we'll say, from Florida and Colorado, and returned just in time for Ida to Baton Rouge, where I haven't lived for 40 years. Happy to be a Republican, can't wait for the football season.
And behind the camera is Kim Powers of the Central City News, and also a member of the Central School Board, and Jolie's Provost, who is on the staff of the Central City News. We appreciate your volunteering today. And some folks walked in. Would you identify yourselves, please?
Sarah Holiday James.
My name is Millicent Johnson. And I'm Jill Dias, an East Baton Rouge Parish School Board member.
Hey. And the gentleman walked in up there?
Yeah.
I heard that you family. Thank you, sir. It's good to have all of you here today. And we're going to have an exciting program with Judge Hunter Greene. But something I'd like to mention before we get to our main speaker, if you read the Advocate today, you'll see that there's some controversy about the 3 proposed bridge sites. And a lot of people are objecting because as they look at the what the bridge sites would do is maybe not do as much as people are thinking that they would. For example, it really wouldn't help people get from I-10 to I-12 at all. And we're wondering just who's making some of these decisions. And we have been fighting, the Republican Party has been fighting the proposed changes in the interstate at Interstate 10 as it connects to 12, because we believe the same things can be accomplished for about 10% of the $1 billion plus cost that's being proposed without the very lengthy delays in construction and limiting some parts of that interstate to 2 lanes and maybe even less. And before we go any further, I'd like to get Coleman, are you here, Coleman Brown? Just come up for a second and talk about,
Yes, he's great.
we only have maybe 5 minutes, but we'll talk about
Coleman,
what we need to do regarding what's going on I-10, I-12.
There's going to be a meeting of the Federation of Civic Associations Thursday night at 7 o'clock at the main library in Goodwood. And so that's a good one for us to begin to find out. Fred Rayford has some traffic management plans that he's going to unveil along with Franklin Associates. So we'll find out a little bit more about some of the damage that's going to occur. But 6 years ago, we knew the DOTD's website, for at least 6 years, it's contained a website that said they were going to keep 3 lanes open in each direction, and we knew that was a physical impossibility from a construction point of view. So about 4 or 5 months ago, they started saying, okay, we're going to have 2 lanes open in each direction. And then just recently, someone from West Baton Rouge Parish posted something, some DOTD drawings that showed 1 lane coming into and out of the parish. It's what I call the cattle crossing at the Expressway Park. If y'all know where the 2 lanes exit Baton Rouge going to the old New Bridge, excuse me, they're going to convert that to 1 lane in and 1 lane out for maybe 2 years. So, you know, there's hurricanes. We haven't given up hurricanes, I don't think. So there's that. There's the military use of the interstate. There's just the EMS people. They're going to close or demolish 4 bridges in town, the 2 over the lakes, the 1 connecting South Downs and Valley Park.
It's insane.
They're going to, you know, redo the Acadian deal. They're going to eliminate the Perkins entrances and exits, and that has more traffic, by the way, than Acadian. So they're going to take that traffic and move it over to Acadian. There's 80 some odd percent, 82% I believe it is, of the 4.2 miles will be completely demolished and replaced. Okay? You know, they're still going to have the cars going over it. Sean Wilson compared this as to be the big dig of the South. Well, let's hope not, because the big dig was only 1.2 miles, I believe, and it had no cars. They just went under some buildings, beside some buildings, and that was it. Here we've got 120,000 vehicles. So, you know, we'll find out Thursday night where they are, and then watch for some of our publications after that. Thank you. Yeah.
You mentioned 2 years, but in fact, the whole project is 20+ years.
Well, that's the only thing that's really written down and signed by all parties, which is the Culture, Recreation, and Tourism, and them, and somebody else. I don't think I've seen anything else. And to Jay Darden's credit, about 3 years ago, he asked DOTD for an economic analysis as to what would happen to the city and parish, which is what we are here. And they never gave it to him, okay? So they never did. So anyhow, thank you.
Thank you, Coleman. And just to hit one more lick on that, just think of the bridges over the lakes, which are perfectly sound right now, structurally sound. Those are going to be removed and rebuilt. In fact, it's how many pilings on the whole thing are going to be removed?
Yeah. There's a total, excuse me, there's a total of 900, we counted, it's kind of hard to count it all exactly, but about 960 columns. Well, DOTD on their website, they don't tell you that. They say 200 of them are going to remain. So that's when we went out there and counted them all up. So 200 will remain, there's 960 out there, so that means 760 columns are going to be demolished. Now, you don't just demolish a column, you demolish the foundation with it. If you all watch the crazy thing downtown at the library, you know, that's what they did. But anyhow, so then you're gonna add on 25% more. So in essence, you're gonna have about 1,000 columns total being demolished and rebuilt and added on to.
And what this is really going to do is shut down Baton Rouge. The project is up to 20 years in length. People concerned about the interstate, about traveling around this town, forget it under this plan. We're going to be in gridlock. It's a very serious problem. And of course, a lot of people are going to be making a lot of money. It's a $1 billion plus project. The Chamber of Commerce has an alternative that basically solves the problem for about under $100 million.
Yeah, around $100 million. We could do virtually all west of the City Park Lakes and the Perkins and Acadian entrances for about $100 million. But if you want to get 95% 4 lanes, which keeps those bridges, basically, is the only 5%, then you could add another $100 million and do some more widening on the eastbound section when you cross the lakes. You know, over to College.
Now the bidder, as I understand it, they awarded a contract for like $52 million, and then without bid, that same contractor is going to get to build the rest of the billion. Is that correct?
They're just rolling that contract right on into the $1.8 billion contract. That's the best way I can see it.
Our Metro Council, our legislature needs to be involved with this. And it's urgent because this is in the last stages.
We've asked the Joint Transportation Committee to please host a hearing. We've been asking them for 2 months now, and we're trying to meet with those members individually since they refused to have a hearing so far. So,
Coleman's been the voice in the wilderness now for years, probably at least 4 years, that I've been involved with him, going to meetings with Jay Gordon and others to try to alert people about what's going on. It's very serious for Baton Rouge economically. And of course, if this $1 billion is spent on this, you know, all these other projects that we have that are so desperately needed are not going to be built because it's all going into this.
Woody, I want to make an emphatic point about, because I talked with Coleman about this previously. He talked of 900 pillars. Now, picture a pillar, okay? It's not a post, right? It's these huge things. 900, okay, then 200 supposedly left. So at best, you're talking 700. How much concrete is one of those? Where is all that concrete going to go? Where's it going to be as they dismantle? And where is it going to go to? And then we're bringing in concrete trucks. They're kind of small, right? Quiet little trucks. And they're going to recreate these? I mean, 700.
Well, actually, it's 900, we think.
900.
There's another
That's
200
worse.
that won't be replaced. 900.
You got to really, really think about that. And if they've got the roads narrowed down to 2 or whatever, how?
All right, so we're alerted once again to this problem, and here's Jeff Wittenbrink just coming in. Fresh off his great Supreme Court victory in the case of State of Louisiana. If you haven't read that decision, go to centralcitynews.net. Go to the May issue of the Central City News. The opinion is there. It's a landmark decision on religious liberty, and Jeff has a lot of credit for that. And our Supreme Court, starting with Judge Crane, who wrote the majority opinion, along with Jeff Hughes and the other conservative members of the court. So congratulations, Jeff. Now, while we're talking about judges, that brings us to our main event. We have a very important election coming up this fall. Judge Mike McDonald has served with distinction on the district court, on the Court of Appeal for many, many years. And the only bad thing I could say about Mike McDonald is didn't he go to Baton Rouge High?
He was always in the high school.
Outstanding judge that we have here. So he's retiring at the end of the year, and so we have the election to replace him. And one of the leading candidates is with us here today, and that's Judge Hunter Greene. It's been my pleasure to know Hunter for a number of years. He represented our city and our state in House District 66. which I was privileged to represent before Hunter was in that position. Since 2014, he served on the family court. He has a great reputation, and one of the judges that I respect said he's a man that really is very bright and is up to the task of being on the Court of Appeals. It's a very important judgeship because we're not so happy so much with what happens at the district court here in East Baton Rouge Parish, and that Court of Appeals serves a very important role of reviewing what's happening. Before Hunter was in the legislature, of course, he was got his law degree and practiced law, and even before that, he was a CPA. So he's got a lot of experience, and he'll tell us more about himself. But we're just honored to have with us here Judge Hunter Greene, candidate for First Circuit Court of Appeals.
Good morning or good afternoon, and Woody, I want to tell you I appreciate you inviting me to this luncheon. I don't have anything written. You didn't see me up here with a bunch of notes. Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah. All right. That's as I get a little older, I find that I'm always seeing if the priest can talk into the microphone more when I'm in mass, and I'm always wanting my kids to talk a little louder. So good morning today, or good afternoon. First, my wife, Emily, I think some of you have met Emily before. She kind of downplayed her role in all this. And I've said this before, she is the Peter of the family. She is the rock. She's the baby of 5 children in her family, and everybody turns to her. And likewise, in our family, everybody turns to her. When I first ran, when I first decided to run in late 2004 for the legislature, I'd never run for office before, and I called her on the way back and said, Mike Hugh Charles resigned, and I'm thinking about running. She says, okay, let's do it. She said, I think we can win this. And we had a crowded field, and of course I can't go without saying that one of my neighbors at the time, and a fellow Republican, Gene Guffey, was one of my opponents. And man, you want to talk about tough in the same neighborhood, both Republicans. That was a tough thing. And Emily she said she had a piece about it, and that she felt like that it was just God's will that it happened. And 7 people running in a race, and then I was successful. I got in a runoff and then won. And I'd never run for office before. I still this day, because Emily got busy with it, and she said, we're going to do this. And she also said that she's a business owner. Let me tell you something about her company serves, that she started when we were newly married, about a year. In 1992, she started a company, and now she has 80 people, 80 speech, physical, and occupational therapists, pediatric specialists working for her in 21 different school districts, including Zachary School System, Central School System, and East Baton Rouge, going all the way up to Webster Parish, going all the way over to Washington Parish, and all the way down to Assumption Parish, and all the way over to Evangeline Parish. I'm trying to remember everything. So she is a busy young lady. We are the parents of 3 children. My daughter, my oldest, is 28, and I'm sorry, 29. Okay, I knew I was going to miss something. She's newly married. She is an occupational therapist as well. She works with my wife, and she treats developmentally disabled children as well. She's also just recently got her MBA. And she's recently married to a guy named Hunter. So how can you go wrong? She's just really smart beyond her years. My son is a lawyer in Metairie. He's an insurance defense lawyer, and he's engaged to be married. And my youngest daughter, is about to be 25, and she is an architect at Grace Haber Curtis. So they're all very smart, thanks to this lady right here. So that's a little bit about my family. Again, I've been married 31 years. I have been an attorney practicing for 28 years. During that time, I'll finally passed the CPA exam and was licensed for a number of years. I do have a financial background. I was a state representative for 10 years, 2005 till I became judge in January 2015. I was the benefactor of term limits. You mentioned term limits. After 2 years of serving, I became the chairman of Ways and Means, which is something that a lot of, before term limits, you had to be there 20 years before you even had the chance to do that. So Jim Tucker, I think some people know in here, Jim Tucker, he's Speaker of the House. He was a friend of mine. He gave me that opportunity and enjoyed it. Did a lot of good things. Wasted a lot of time, I know that. Now that I'm on the bench and I look at the legislature from afar, there's a lot of time wasted. And we all know that, we see that, but there is a lot of time that gets away from your family when you're in the legislature. And so when you see a legislator, man or woman, remember that they gave up their time and that they are trying to do good things. Maybe not always what you want to do, but they're giving up a lot to serve for something for not a whole lot of pay. So we did do some good things. I did learn that living within your means is something that was instilled by me from my parents, and I try to instill in other legislators. We had Katrina that hit right after I got elected, and you saw people just, their eyes just lit up that we got all this money from all the federal government. I'm like, guys, you understand that the federal government, the money that they have is all your tax money. So you can't just say it's federal money, don't worry about it. You need to worry about it. Let me be real clear on a few things. If you know anything about me, I will tell you right now, 110% pro-life. There's no question with me. That is something that is instilled in me, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts for me. And my wife and I have talked about it. When the first time I ever read Roe versus Wade, it was in 1991. I just gotten married, started law school, and we had to read the constitutional law. And I was like, well, I kind of knew a little bit about it, didn't know a whole bunch. I had followed what had happened in the legislature in 1990. Where's Mr. Jenkins? In 1991, and so I got to know, I just heard the debates, then I read the case, and you want to talk about nonsense. And I think the Supreme Court got it right recently by saying there was never a right to it. This was made up. There's nothing in the Constitution that says that. So again, that is something that when I read the dissent in Roe versus Wade from 1973, that's what made sense. Justice Rehnquist and Justice White. So also Second Amendment, I've got plenty of guns to prove, and I'm pro-Second Amendment, plenty of guns to prove that. So what is it about the First Circuit that makes me want to run for this? It's not something that I envisioned when I ran. I mean, when I decided to run, and not something that I envisioned when I ran for the legislature in 2005. In fact, I never thought I was going to be a CPA. Never thought I was going to be a lawyer. Definitely never thought I was going to be a politician in that sense. Never thought I'd run for judge. And I joke with my kids and I joke with people in my court, sometimes with my wife, that someday when I grow up, I'm going to figure out what I want to do with my life. So I always like a challenge. I don't want to be one of those judges on the district court that the attorneys mumble, man, he should have retired, he's getting grumpy. I've been there 8 years. I was in the legislature again for 10 years. That was 2.5 terms. I think that was plenty. I've been on the district court, family court bench for 8 years. I enjoy every minute of it. I tell people, I know at least three people that are interested in running for my spot if I should get elected. And I have told them it is the best job I have ever had. By hands down. I have attorneys, other judges that don't do family court say, how can you deal with it? And I tell them that, look, you got to treat people with respect. You got to listen to their argument. You got to listen to the attorneys argue. Sometimes they will aggravate you. And you got to have the patience. You'll have people that won't comply with your orders and they'll cut you off. I see some attorneys practicing family court here that Deli and Jeff and Carson, I believe you came to family court a few times, that they will cut your clients will cut the judge off, no question about it. I had a guy this morning. He said, well, I hate to cut you off, Judge, but let me tell you about this and this. I said, and then he did it again. Then finally I said, nope, wait, stop. I said, I'm not interested in that. I said, you cut me off twice. Let's get down to what's at stake here. You're in contempt from what they allege. I'm going to give you another day. But please don't sit here, and if you come back with a contempt hearing, don't keep cutting me off. I just give you a little word, little words of wisdom here. But be prepared. I will give you your time to make your argument. And it is something that every day is a little different. But when you're talking about children, you're not talking about mom or dad and what they want. I mean, that's what they're asking for. But I'm not interested in what they necessarily want. I'm interested in what's in the best interest of those children. Okay? And that's something that is it's kind of cliche, what's in the best interest. You got so many factors you look at to determine what's in the best interest. Now, I will tell you that when I first became judge, if you would ask me if I would grant custody to a parent that tested positive for THC, marijuana, I'd say, you're crazy, there's no way. But let me tell you, folks, sometimes that's the least of the problems of the parents, which is, it's frightening. It's frightening. We order drug tests. I order drug tests if there's good cause for it, if there's allegations that are put before the court, and I'll order drug tests. It might be a hair test. It might be a urine test. It might be a fingernail test. Fingernail test. Fingernail test. Now, let's tell you this. You can't mix toenails and fingernails. I found that out. That's one of the interesting things in family court. I never knew that, and I found that out. I enjoy it every day. And, I had to figure out, okay, what am I going to wear today? Because usually I don't wear a tie under my robe. And I used to in the legislature, I would wear a tie every day. And I was like, well, this is a no-brainer. I like this nice red tie and everything. And it goes with the gray suit and the white. That's very easy. I don't have to make those decisions when I'm on the bench. I can wear a nice shirt under there, but I don't have to wear a tie. So, of course, I asked somebody at the office, I said, look, I can wear the blue or the red. And they're like, you're going to the Republican thing, right? You're like, wear your red. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Again, I've been Republican all my life. I love the fact that this is a Ronald Reagan luncheon. The first person I ever voted for in my life in 1984, when I turned 18 in July. I was in Baton Rouge, still lived in Shreveport. I had to get somebody to notarize I believe you called it an absentee ballot, I believe back then. I had to get it back in the mail up there. First person I voted for, Ronald Reagan.
Good choice. Judge, I hate to cut you off.
Yes.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
So tell us, on the Supreme Court today, who are the justices that you most admire? And also tell us what you think about the current controversy over demonstrating at justices' homes. What do you think should be done or can be done in that scenario?
I'll tell you, as far as who I admire the most, Amy Coney Barrett comes to mind, Justice Barrett, but I'll tell you, when I saw what happened to Justice Kavanaugh back in 2018, October of 2018, that got put through the ringer, and it just the absurdity of everything. That's what sticks in my mind. Obviously Justice Thomas and some of the things he said gets reported. Some of the things he said in his concurrence gets reported. As maybe he's mean-spirited, but he's definitely not somebody that's worried about public opinion. And you got to appreciate that. In my court today, I had a priest in my court that was trying to interrupt me when the two parties are represented by counsel, he's back there saying, but Judge, I have information that might change your mind about this. I said, hold on, these two attorneys are here representing the parties. I appreciate that you're a priest, but I need to deal with them and not have, obviously it's not a Yahoo in court, but if it was just somebody out there, I would say, you're a Yahoo in the court. You can't just interrupt. And it's one of those things where I had to be polite about it, but I was like, I appreciate it. You're saying you got this information, but we have to follow the procedures. Amy Coney Barrett didn't get as much press coverage to me as the confirmation of Justice Kavanaugh, but those are two, so as far as admiring, Justice Thomas has been where he is, and Justice Scalia have been where they are. They haven't wavered. They haven't changed over time. They've been where they are, and I appreciate consistency and conviction. Now, as far as protesting the justice houses, if there's a law, I don't know why it's not being enforced. But I will say that, judges, even retired judges, still face this. It's something that hits close to home of, I don't have security guards at my house. I have an alarm system. I carry guns. I carry guns on the bench sometimes. I think some of the attorneys know that. I carry a 9mm when I'm on the bench because there are times when you have an inmate come in, and if my bailiff is getting an inmate in, they have to put their gun away, and so there's nobody. So that's just what I do now. I do have my head on a swivel because in family court, okay, let me just tell you about the vast coverage I have. I can decide who gets what property in a divorce, okay? I can decide if you get to use your house or be in your house, or if you get any belongings in your house before the partition. I can decide how much child support you pay. I can decide how much, or if you pay spousal support. I can enjoin you from changing beneficiaries on the insurance. I can do an income assignment or garnish your wages to pay child support, spousal support. I can decide when or if you see your children, or if it's supervised, or if it's not. So I can touch every aspect of a person's life, and I can send you to jail. The door right by my desk, the bench, goes to a real jail cell. It goes downstairs, goes to East Baton Rouge Parish Prison. Doesn't go to a federal prison. It goes to East Baton Rouge Parish Prison. I had a gentleman there today that's, I would say, he's definitely over 65, and he's refused repeatedly to comply with an order that he agreed to. It wasn't that I found the evidence that he didn't like it. He agreed to it, and he continues to fail to pay his ex-wife the money he agreed to, and I put him in jail for 90 days. He served that time. Now, bringing into his account over $5,000 a month, and he would not simply do, I think it was a $900 payment he owed, something like that, and he just simply refused to, and it was direct deposit, it was a retirement check, and that was something they agreed to, not that I ordered. And I mean, I did order it, but I signed it, but he just simply said, I'm not doing it, and I put him in jail. And so you got people that I run into all the time, run into people all the time that I've ruled against. Some I rule for, but it is real as far as the security issues with judges. And I say if there's a law out there, I don't understand why the state of Virginia or whatever town it is doesn't enforce that.
Let's open it up to questions now.
So I heard a statement here earlier about Susie saying she was the most powerful nobody. And I spoke to this group before. The courts of appeal judges really are the most important nobodies in Louisiana. 93% of all court cases end at that level or below. The state Supreme Court takes about 7% of all the writs that come to it. So I think there's about 45 appeal court judges. 53 in the state of Louisiana. And I guess that's informational. I guess all the things you're telling us are exciting. Have you considered how that case will change for you and how much slower things will move and
I
how
have,
the action you'll be?
I have, as far as, and some people say, well, you're gonna get bored to tears. I promise you, I'm not gonna get bored to tears. I don't mind, you know, the novel idea of reading the briefs. When I went to the legislature, it was a novel idea to read the bills before you voted on them. So we had a group of us that we were like, okay, Hunter, you're gonna do this, Rick, Nowlin, and Nakadish, and a few others. We actually, and I'm not, no offense, Woody, I know you would have read the bills, and I know you were very intent on reading the bills, and you were one of the few, very few. It became a few more of us with term limits where we were reading the bills and not just worried about whether somebody was voting green or red up at the top, or whether the speaker went like this or down like this. And that's something in the Court of Appeal, I think, that I want to read all the briefs and make my notes on it. Now, I've heard that some of the judges in some of the various courts of appeal rely more on their law clerk to do that. I mean, look, certainly I want to hire good people, but I'm the one that's elected. I should be the one reading them and making the decisions. Now, they may draft the opinion, but I'm the one that my name is on the line, and so I feel like I need to read it. I won't get bored with that. Well, what I will say about the Court of Appeal, there are 16 parishes that the First Circuit has jurisdiction over. Okay, so this is not just East. Now, the district is only the majority of East Baton Rouge, so it gets Zachary, Central, Baker, and most of Baton Rouge. It excludes a minority subdistrict in part of it, in some parts of the district, but by and large, the majority of East Baton Rouge is in this voting district. But the district of the whole First Circuit goes from Point de Pete down to St. Mary to Lafourche, Terrebonne, Assumption, all the way over to Washington and St. Tammany and all the Florida parishes back to East Baton Rouge. That's a big area. So there's a lot of different cases that come to the First Circuit. A lot of different folks' lives that are affected by that.
Questions? Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
I have a very, very important question, but I'd like to stipulate that you only answer in 2 sentences.
Now, Ms. Rayburn, you're a lawyer. You know I can't do that.
Well, my very important question is, what is a woman?
A lady is my wife. That's a big example. So a woman is a human being that from birth would be able to have a child. And I think it's pretty simple what a woman is. If we go back to Genesis, it might describe everything.
My next question is, in the Bergerfeld opinion, it failed to deal with retroactivity, especially property rights, community property rights, things like that. And in the decision with Dobbs, it was mentioned that the issues that they were dealing with in the Dobbs case were not issues such as Bergerfeld would be dealt with. I think a lot of people took that to mean, oh, we're never going to deal with it, Bergerfeld. However, to me, it seemed like there would be issues possibly that could come up that Bergerfeld would be dealt with. What is your thoughts on the kind of issues that may be able to go up all the way to the Supreme Court that may be able to, at some point in time, be an issue about a Bergerfeld that possibly could kind of...
And tell us what that case is.
That's the same-sex marriage that created the union of a marriage in other states that, like ours, was absolutely null. We don't have access to.
So what is your question exactly?
So what are some issues that you believe may be issues that could come up? I know, like the property thing, that, but are there any other issues that would go up to the Supreme Court?
I mean, it would be hard for me to speculate on what particular issues may come up. You have lawyers, and just like lawyers, we can. I'm still I'm not a practicing lawyer. I can't practice as a judge, but I'm a licensed lawyer. As we know, lawyers can be creative sometimes, and what issues may be able to come up. I would have never thought, I hadn't gone back and specifically looked at our abortion laws, but I know that I always thought that it was a no means no, you can't do it, you can't perform it unless these certain exceptions, at least in the law. So I would have never thought that there would have been a TRO down in New Orleans. But I don't know anything. I didn't look at all the pleadings, but just to me, stepping back, I'm like, well, how do we even get to court and just say the laws are too confusing? How do you not understand that it means you can't perform abortions at least except under these exceptions? So I don't know how they came up with the argument and how that was ruled on that way, but I believe now it's East Baton Rouge.
The election is in October.
November, I'm sorry, yes, November 8th is the federal election.
Right.
It's on Tuesday. So qualifying starts next Wednesday, the 13th, I'm sorry, the 20th.
And when you're elected, you'll take over on July the 1st or July?
Oh no, January 2024.
So more likely you won't be here in the case of the city of St. George.
Well, I believe that the city of St. George case is up on appeal, right?
You're seeing written right now to go before the First Circuit.
Yeah, I don't know when the brief deadlines do or what. I don't know.
They filed it yesterday. Well, they filed the appeal yesterday.
Oh, okay, all right. So I don't believe the panel has been even figured out who's the panel. So it may be something that comes, if I'm there, if they come before me, it may not. So, everybody, I think, knows I was in the legislature. I think my legislative record is pretty clear on that. Certainly, as a judge on the Court of Appeal, you have to see whether or not the judge made an error of law. Or it wouldn't be a discretionary thing, it would be an error of law. I believe that judge was an ad hoc judge from the Florida Parish of St. Tammany. I think I met him one time in the elevator. Don't know him, but as far as that, my thing is this: if you're not incorporated, the people have a right to incorporate. If they're not incorporated, it's not a break, what I could tell. It was an incorporation of an unincorporated area.
People voting.
Yep.
Hunter, I wanted to just point out too that the First Circuit has a rule that every case that comes out of your division has to have one judge from that division. So in East Baton Rouge, the St. George case, we'll have to have one of four people: Mike McDonald, Chris Hester, John Michael Guidry, or Duke Welch.
Yes, because there are four judges out of the 12 that are on the First Circuit, and so they also don't want two judges from East Baton Rouge on the panel, so they try to split them out. That's the same effect. Is every panel is going to have one judge, because they break them up into 3-judge panels. So every judge, every East Baton Rouge, for every panel of 3 judges that hears an appeal is going to have one East Baton Rouge parish judge. So any judgment coming out of East Baton Rouge is guaranteed to have at least one judge. Could have possibly 2 if one of the other judges recused.
Jill Dyson has a question.
Yes.
I have a question on the ballot. So you'll be on the ballot on November 8th. Congressman Derek Graves will be.
Senator Kennedy will also be on the ballot.
Senator Kennedy, and I will also be on the ballot, the school board, so that the ballot has more things than usual for me.
So that was a question, right?
Yeah, I was just trying to see, did you know any other things that are coming on the
I believe
ballot?
school board and I believe possibly some constitutional amendments.
That's what I wondered. Okay.
The city of Central will have all of its officials on the ballot: mayor, police chief, and council. Of course, all of your, I think, 69 school boards in the state will have every member up. Of course, all of the members of Congress will be up.
Yeah.
Some good ships.
Yes, sir.
Can you comment on your perception of the adequacy of Louisiana's public records laws? And would you be supportive of a measure similar to what Texas has, that when a public records request is denied, it's automatically submitted to the Texas Attorney General for review to make the determination whether that denial was justified?
Yeah, I mean, if I put on my legislative hat, I would say that sounds like a good idea. I work for, this is something I didn't mention, some of you may know Dan Kyle, the former legislative auditor. He was a professor of mine at LSU when I was a county major. And he actually signed a little thing to say he's qualified to take the CPA exam, he's a good character, just to take the CPA exam, not to pass it, but to take it. And when I didn't pass it the first time, I told Dr. Kyle, I said, well, maybe I don't have that great of a character. I didn't pass it all at one time. Of course, there's only like a 12% first time pass rate on the CPA exam. So I used to work for Dr. Kyle as an attorney for 4 years, and you know, part of his thing was, look, what do we do in the springtime? Back in the old day, I guess we put out everything, spring cleaning, let the sunshine, disinfect it, and so that whole idea was ingrained in my thought process about let the sunshine be disinfected, let people see it, make their own determination. I have a lot of attorneys that say, "Oh, it's family court, it's custody, and this might be damaging to the person's reputation if this isn't sealed." And I don't like to seal records. It's very unusual for me to seal records, even when both attorneys are asking for it. I'm like, just because this guy works at this job for a public entity doesn't mean it needs to be sealed. So there are certain times, there's been a few cases, but I'm telling you, it's maybe 1 or 2 unsealed, maybe in 8 years. So I like to let people decide, make their decision. I'm comfortable knowing that people will make an informed decision. I've served with a broad, diverse group of people in the legislature. It is a representative form of government, but that's what it is, and we have to appreciate that. And I wish the electorate would be more educated when they go cast their ballot. When I first ran, I was like, they need to be. And I was like, well, I shouldn't complain because I did win, so I shouldn't complain. But you always want to have folks that are educated, and I think having a good public records to where we say, okay, make a decision. Everybody's going to put a spin on it, right? Newspapers, TVs are all going to put their spin on it. But there are enough people in this world and enough people in our state that can figure out what is the right thing to do.
Judge, we're at 1 o'clock. We probably have another 5 minutes for questions. I have something that is personally concerns me. I think it concerns a lot of people. To me, it's a crisis, and that is the long delays in reaching justice. Justice delayed is justice denied. And the St. George case is an example of it. Here, years ago now, people have voted to incorporate whether we have a favorable or unfavorable decision. It's still pending out there, just leaving the district court. And it's possible with all the dilatory tactics that people who want to delay a decision, they can do a lot of things legally. Smart lawyers can do a lot of things to delay. We saw that in Pastor Spell's case, where here, pretty obvious violation of somebody's rights. It took over 2 years to reach a decision. What can we do, and what can you do on the Court of Appeal to actually speed up the wheels of justice, not losing the quality, but getting to a decision quicker?
Well, I've been known to be pretty decisive in my rulings. I'll tell you this, and that's what I bring to the bench, I believe, is I don't take cases under advisement except under extreme circumstances. If we have a 3-day custody trial, I'm not going to say, well, I'll get back with you, just keep on living your lives, your children, whatever's going to happen, and then I'll make a decision. Usually, now if they request written reasons, I'll do it, but most of the time, I'm coming back that I'll recess. I might sleep on it today. I might just wait 30 minutes because I'm taking notes the whole time. Okay, I've got pages and pages of notes. I'm old school. I'm like, I'm back in law school. I'm jotting down notes. Now some judges type it in. I feel better writing it down and making my notes. I might make my notes, and I've got a little thing about best interest, and I can fill it in on each factor. But that's what I think I bring is, I don't want to wait around and say, look, I don't think my opinion is going to change. Now, I give everybody an opportunity to make an argument. but I'm not gonna continue to say, oh wait, I need another extension for this and that. Now, usually in my court, when you come in, if you're facing contempt and they don't have a lawyer first time, then I will give them one continuance for that. But these continued things, what I see in my court is, most of the times, the attorneys are both agreeing to continue because they're trying to work it out. And I tell people all the time that, look, you have children together. It would be best for you to try to deal with the other side in some respect. Because you know something, you had children, y'all live together. I'm only gonna hear, even if I hear a whole week, I'm not gonna hear all your life. I'm not gonna know everything about you. And then I've got to make a decision. And I'm only gonna be able to hear this stuff. I'm not gonna know all the stuff. And so I try to encourage people to try to talk to each other and resolve that. But at the end of the day, I said, then you've got to go appeal if you don't like what I ruled. Because after I rule, there's no more getting at it. I'm not going to say, oh, let me take it, let me consider it again. There's no more getting at it. My judgment is my judgment.
Questions?
One more. On Tucker Carlson the other night, he may have been Friday night, he made a statement, as he was talking about something that I think was huge, because I've thought about it for many, many years. But all of these mass killers have something in common. They've all been on A or B drugs or antidepressants or whatever since they were little. And a man by the name of Peter Bregan has talked about the drugging of American children. And if you go into a classroom of children, probably all but maybe one are on some kind of an ADD meds. And what are the judges in the family court doing to educate themselves on stop the drugging of kids in order to pacify parents who don't feel like disciplining their kids?
Yeah, and so I see that some where the parents, more of what I hear the fight is that you might have parents disagreeing on, this doctor gave this medicine and one parent says, yes, take it. And then they go to the other parents and then the other parent doesn't do that. And so my problem with that is that the doctor has already done it. And you don't have a doctor on the other side, it's just a parent that says, well, I'm not going to do that, even though the doctor has prescribed it. And the other parent's not really involved, just says, well, I don't want the child doing that when I have the child. That's one problem. The other problem is you have a lot of parents stealing ADHD medicine. And so you'll have a lot of fights about that, is they're taking their children's medicine. So, we have special training as family court judges through the Judicial College, and we have one coming up. And that would be something I'd like to have a topic on that we do periodically throughout the year, in addition to what we're required to do just as a lawyer. We have to have other training as judges. We do some different continuing legal education than lawyers do.
Thank you very much, Judge.
Thank you.
Great job, and we're going to be looking to, of course, we do have an endorsement process for the Republican Party, and all the candidates on the Republican side will have an opportunity to participate in that process if they choose to do so. We'll ask them a lot of questions. Of course, Hunter covered a lot of ground today, but there'll be a lot more. Jill Dyson, who's a member of our East Baton Rouge Parish School Board, wants to alert us to something. Jill, would you want to come up?
Yes, thank you. I have requested an agenda item for this coming Thursday night. We're holding a special meeting at 5 o'clock before our regular meeting or committee of the whole. So we're actually going to have 4 back-to-back meetings, but one starts at 4:30, and then I think right at 5, and it's right on the agenda, way up in the top of the agenda. I requested an item for us to have an armed security resource officer in every middle and high school, and then we can start deciding what to do at the elementary level. But I feel like with so much that goes on across the nation, that we really have to be prepared. And so when I did that, it triggered another board member to put another option on that vote to have an unarmed. And they really, what I want them to do is building the relationships with the children, you know, with the students. I want them to be there mentoring. I want them to be walking around the building and surveying outside and inside and on doors and all of these things that are on both of the job descriptions. But I feel like if I can get as many of you that feel that this is important, I want them to be able to do something something real in a crisis. If they're sitting there with somebody, you know, that is armed, how can we place them unarmed? And so I need to, I'm just asking any of you that feel, because this vote could be really close, and I just feel like for the security of our teachers and our principals and our staff and our students, of course, that this is critically important. So anybody that can come to our meeting, they will allow public comment, and there'll be 3 minutes that each person can speak. So I'd love to see you all there. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jill. There's another issue.
When is it? Could you repeat when it is?
Thursday, this Thursday,
Okay.
at 5 o'clock.
Okay, gotcha.
And it'll be early, so.
Yep, okay, gotcha.
There's another item, thank you, Jill, there's another item regarding school boards that you might have seen some things on the internet about it, but it's a proposed rule coming, it was posted in the Federal Register today from the Biden administration. Supposedly, this rule provides that public schools must provide access by transgender people to the opposite sex restrooms, or else there will be school lunch funds withheld. Now, that is published today. I have not had a chance to read that. I want to read it and digest it to see if that is in fact what it does. But that's getting a lot of attention right now, and I'm sure you'll be hearing more about it. So I want to thank you all for coming today. It's been a lot of fun. We'll look forward to next month. Please join us for the Ronald Reagan Newsmaker lunches.
Thank you.